Hey gang, Jason here with 117. It's been 2 weeks since our last post, primarily because COVID quarantine got the best of me. According to a Gallup survey back in mid-April, only a month into this, 15% of Americans were experiencing negative mental health effects from stay-at-home orders. 37% more said that they could hold out a few more weeks, and less than half of all Americans said they could go as long as needed. Across the country, protests in defiance of these orders are a reflection of the mounting mental stress from this pandemic. And yet it's stupid, right? Today is a gorgeous day, sunny, blue skies, peaceful streets, and yet I miss people. Why should it matter? But it does. Why can't we just enjoy the day as it is? But we can't. Do you understand how frustrating this is? My family is blessed. We have time together, we're working from home, we have a steady stream of income, and for the most part, we have the liberty to take a hike or build a fire or take a nap, and yet that's the crux of it. The stress, the depression, the anxiety, the worry, that's where it all falls apart. The what if. We're going through difficult times, and over the past 4 weeks, we've tried to give you some tools to help fight the fight. From mindfulness to faithfulness to friendship to this week's strategy for breaking the anxiety cycle. Now, as we've said, anxiety is a natural response to uncertainty. Nature has fine-tuned your reflexes for fight or flight. But in today's modern world, fight or flight isn't always possible. Sometimes you just have to endure. So, in response, our minds have come up with other tricks to make us think that we're doing something. Broadly, these are the 3 most common anxiety tricks. They're coping strategies that don't really help us cope. They are panic, phobias, and OCD, or obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, on the surface, these strategies sound good. Panic will make you run from the bear, phobias will help you avoid the axe killers, and OCD, well, a little OCD will keep your house clean and your laundry caught up. Great! Unfortunately, all 3 of these can also be debilitating. They can have detrimental effects on your relationships with others. Panic makes your heart race to the point you can't catch your breath. Phobias keep you away from your support system that you desperately need right now. And OCD, well, that makes everything more complicated. These strategies become a trick at first and eventually a crutch for whatever you're going through. Whenever you're facing stress, they're your go-to response in an unending cycle of anxiety. Instead, we need to reprogram our minds. We need to break the cycle, and for that, we can turn to Paul. Paul was an early church missionary and preacher. He endured a ton of stress throughout ministry. You think COVID is bad? Paul was arrested and beaten, shipwrecked and stoned. The persecution kind, not prescription. And he writes his letter to the church at Philippi, lying in a jail cell, hoping maybe, just maybe, Caesar will spare his life. In his life, Paul had every reason to be overcome, and yet he chooses to close his letter with a note of resiliency. He says to the church, "Always be full of joy in the Lord. I say it again, rejoice. Let everyone see that you're considerate in all you do. Remember, the Lord is coming soon. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He's done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard our hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus." Now, I don't know if Paul really felt those things, but he talks like this a lot in his letters. This isn't just some one-off wishful thinking attitude toward difficulties of life. This is his faith. He chooses to think about God in these terms intentionally, and it changes his pattern of thinking. Where others would feel abandoned and alone waiting to die, Paul says, rejoice. Hey, take heart. It's not just some fake it for Facebook rejoicing, but gratitude-focused, check your pity party at the door, joy. Look, we all have things to be grateful for. We just need to choose to think about them. For me, for the last 2 weeks, I've been struggling to see the joy. Some days there's a glimmer, but other days I'm under a pile of crap, and I've noticed a couple of things that seem to steal my joy the most. First, the weather. The rainy days throughout March and April were a real struggle. May's cleared up some and sunshine has helped, but during the dark days, it also helps to light a candle or put a beach picture up as a screensaver. Something that helps you shake the doldrums. But then there's junk food. This would be so much easier without my kids. I have 2 boys, and they love to snack. They would live entirely on a diet of cheese balls and bomb pops if we would let them. And the problem for me is that if it's in the house, I'll eat it. And then it physically makes me feel ill, which makes me feel emotionally bad about having eaten it. And well, I think you get the point. I have to stop it at the root. It simply can't come into the house. So we make a list before we go to the grocery store and then eat before you go shopping. When you're dog interruption, this is perfect. Yes. Of course, comedy should make you laugh and that should bring you joy, but it doesn't always help. I love Stephen Colbert, Trevor Noah, Seth Meyers, and the like, but right now it's too easy to focus on the negative. And while I love their work, I can only take political comedy in small doses. Otherwise, I spiral. So I have to mix it up. Fluffy, Gabriel Iglesias, he keeps it light. Lastly, movement matters. Just getting your body moving or working with your hands matters. My best days in this stay-at-home order have included home projects like putting on a new front door or putting up paneling in the basement. It's included pull-ups and deadlifts or trips to the grocery store for my grandmother. Whatever it takes to make me feel like a contributing member of society. You have to break the cycle of depression, of worthlessness, to be able to refocus on the joy that's before you. Now, you might be thinking, that's all great, Jason, but it'll never work. Sure, fine, okay, maybe not. But ask yourself, have you ever seen a happy, depressed person? I rest my case. Paul goes on in his letter, and he says, after you focus on the joy, let everyone see that you are considerate in all that you do. Now, scholars have debated over this translation for generations. Because the Greek doesn't really translate well into English, the idea of being considerate has been called gentleness or grace or forbearance. But the point is that you're living your life as you know God would have you live. Live by the Spirit. For me, I need the space to dream. I need to think about what could be, what God is calling me to do, to vision. I found inspiration from YouTube channels like TEDx and Harvard Business Review. There's designers and science and technology that bring me hope. For me, it helps to look at the good in the world and see where I can contribute and where God can capitalize on what's happening. Visualize yourself as part of something greater, and then do it. I love Andy Stanley's quote on this. Do for one what you wish you could do for all. You see, you don't have to fix all the problems of the world or even all the problems in your world. Just work on one. And that positive energy will gain momentum and reverberate to have lasting effects beyond what you can currently see. As Paul says, let everyone see that you are considerate in all that you do. Live by the Spirit. And finally, pray. I wonder how many people are really praying for this thing to end. I don't mean that judgmentally or even that you aren't praying hard enough. But seriously, is this on your prayer list? We say it is, but if our prayers aren't answered within a day, most of us move on. We have a short attention span. How many of us have moved on already? We're putting our hope in scientists and the natural progression of time to come up with a cure. But Paul reminds us, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all that He's done. God already knows what's on your mind and heart, and I've always thought it was stupid to have to tell God what God already knows, right? How crazy is that? But then, what's the point of prayer? Is it about my communicating with God or God communicating with me? So how do you pray best? I'm a candles and cup of coffee kind of guy. I like to pray first thing in the morning. I like to be reflective. Others prefer to take a walk or to go fishing or hunting, sit on a beach, or go camping in the woods. Where do you feel closest to God? The reality is, even in lockdown, you probably can go out and go for a walk or a hike or a bike ride. But we're so distracted by all the madness that I wonder if we've forgotten to pray, if we've forgotten to be in tune with God. Rejoice. Live by the Spirit and pray. 3 simple strategies to helping to cope with this, and the peace of God, which exceeds anything we can understand, will guard your hearts and your minds. That's what I want for you. not just making it through COVID, not just getting by with your own coping tricks, but actually experiencing an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-present peace. May you find peace in this season of chaos. Till next time, I'm Jason, and we are 117. Y'all, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you found it helpful, I want to ask you to do 3 things. First, subscribe and like our videos. If you can share them with somebody who needs them, your subscription will help us reach more viewers. Second, if you want to talk with someone about your own worries, email us at 117communities@gmail.com. We'll find a way to connect. And lastly, if you can consider giving, we're a nonprofit 501c3 focused on building community, and even a small monthly gift will help so many. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.